Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down. Jumping from cliffs so high, trusting our wings to fly. Sometimes we're crashing down, but we get up and start from the ground. And I really wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky...
Don't sit on the sidelines. Everybody can't be on the front lines, but everybody's got to be off the sidelines.
Hi, my name is Vanya Sawan, and I'm from the Somerset County Vocational and Technical School, where I'm a part of the Academy of Health and Medical Sciences. As a teen, we continuously face social injustices, but get little say in what goes on. However, the Teen Think Tank Project changes that. The Teen Think Tank Project has been a platform where I've been able to raise my voice for the social injustices that I am passionate about.
Hi, my name's Laura Gaylord, and I'm an incoming senior at Archbishop Wood High School. For me, climate change is a really personal issue, but I've seen around me that a lot of people tend to brush it off or just make light of it. When I saw that I had the chance to write a research paper on climate change, alongside others who felt as deeply about the issue as I did, I knew that this was an amazing opportunity and I had to take it. Thus, I joined the team, and here I am.
Hello, I'm Daniel Romano, and I attend Archbishop Wood High School in Warminster, Pennsylvania. I joined Teen Think Tank Project because I heard about the goal for this year, which is to combat climate change. Taking AP Environmental Science the year previous, I have heard a lot about global warming and the issues with our climate, and I wanted to be a part of that change.
Hi, my name is Tomas Rivera, and I attend Chaminade College Preparatory School in Los Angeles, California. I joined Teen Think Tank Project because there's something really powerful about being able to bridge the gap between, the academic stuff I've been doing in high school and the more professional sense of advocating for climate change, and then how it's helped me advocate by finding pathways to make my voice, which used to be one that would just talk to my professors, and now is one that can be published.
Hi, my name is Reagan McGowan. I go to Archbishop Wood High School in Pennsylvania. What I liked about this summer program was how close me and my 9 other teammates were able to get. Not only am I more confident in the information I'm spreading about climate change because of the guest speakers who are experts on the matter, I'm more confident and believe in myself more to speak up against those who are spreading false information and helping those who are unaware or uneducated on climate change and giving them important and reliable information.
I am Jessie Dong. I am a student at the Somerset County Vocational and Technical High School in the Academy for Health and Medical Sciences. I joined the Teen Think Tank Project to help voice my opinions regarding climate change. In this program, I enjoy being able to discuss with our group members regarding this issue and coming up with ideas together.
Hi, I'm Anushka Dasari, a current cohort member of this semester's Teen Think Tank Project. I'm from New Jersey, and I'm a rising junior at the Academy of Health and Medical Sciences program at Somerset County VOTEC. As a member of Teen Think Tank Project, I learned so much, from learning how to be a team player to how to communicate with our guest speakers. Throughout the semester, I worked diligently on my research work, and that had truly enabled me to learn about a topic of my interest as well as improve my technical skills.
Hello, my name is Kamaini and I am from Delhi, India. I joined the Teen Think Tank summer program to become an agent of change, implementing all my theoretical knowledge to practical use for the welfare of humankind.
This project has given me endless benefits, but the new relationships I was able to form was one of the biggest. Being able to understand new perspectives from all over the world about the issues that we are all facing together is a new experience that comes once in a lifetime.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2022 Summer Research Cohort's Climate Justice Policy Framework Launch Party. Luckily, that is about the extent of the words that I need to say for this evening, because this program, this presentation, and the framework that we developed here is by, for, and about the exceptional teens of the Teen Think Tank Project. I am Matt DeSantis, along with my co-founder, Kelly Nagel, the Teen Think Tank Project team, staff, our partners, Perennis Financial, all the donors, and especially the 8 exceptional teen change agents you see here tonight. We'd like to welcome you. Thank you for spending your evening with us. We thank you for supporting the endeavors of these teen change agents. And we are excited to share what we have done over the last 12 weeks of the summer for many of our students. We started with them before they ended school, and we are ending with them as they are starting their new chapters as sophomores, juniors, seniors, and even freshmen in college. So without further ado, you did not come here to hear me speak. You came here to find out how we can solve the issues surrounding our society, plaguing our planet, and preventing meaningful change when it comes to global warming. Therefore, I'd like to present the Teen Think Tank Project's Climate Justice Research Cohort and turn it over to Reagan McGowan and Laura Gaylord. Ladies?
Thanks, Matt. First off, we wanted to say hi to everyone. Thank you for coming today, and welcome to the 2022 Teen Think Tank Summer Cohort.
The topic of this cohort was climate change, fighting climate change and its impact on communities.
So over the past 12 weeks, the 10 of us have worked together to research each of our impediment topics that apply to climate change and the ways in which we could help bring about awareness to those specific topics.
We first want to say thank you so much to each and every one of our guest speakers who took the time out of their day to come to speak to us and to educate us on their specific expertise in regards to climate change.
Our thank yous don't amount to the appreciation we all share. The main purpose of our cohort this summer was to not only educate us more deeply on the dangers of climate change, but to give us the power as young teens to become future change makers.
Once again, we want to give a big thank you to Matt, who not only prepared us to become agents of change this summer, but by also giving us the opportunity and the tools needed to make a positive impact on the world. We couldn't have done it without you.
Although each one of us cohort members carry different skills and unique talents, this process has allowed us to all come together and share those talents with one another for the benefit of our common goal, which is solutions to climate change.
Even though we're all outstanding students with high goals, this program has challenged us to develop our communication, teamwork, and leadership skills by allowing us to experience a college-like environment with intellectual discussions, working alongside peers and professionals, and by giving us the freedom to dictate our own path.
Once again, we want to give a huge thank you to Matt and our guest speakers. Not only are we all more prepared for college life, but also the work environment, as we now obtain the resources and social skills to hopefully succeed in those situations.
We hope that you enjoy the rest of our presentation.
Danny, we can dive right in.
Okay. So on June 23rd, 1998, James Hansen of NASA announced that the United States and the atmosphere was warming due to actions of humans. And based on their research, we learned that climate change wasn't going to reverse if we didn't stop the human activities that we were conducting right now. Our project is basically about what kinds of changes in different aspects, for example, in education and in economics, what kinds of things can we do to prevent climate change and reverse it? I hope you enjoy listening.
So before we get into the impediments, we wanted to give everyone a historical perspective or background on the issue of climate change. So every decade since 1880, the global temperature has risen 0.14 degrees Fahrenheit. Since 1993, the sea level has increased 0.14 inches per year. 750 billion tons of ice are melted yearly, causing many animals to lose their habitats. The changes are real, and the longer that they are ignored, the worse that they become. Today, as environmental issues have become more prominent and unable to be ignored, governments across the globe are finally taking action and trying to find ways to solve them. One example of this collective action is the Paris Climate Agreement. The Paris Climate Agreement sets out a global framework to avoid dangerous climate change by limiting the global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius and pursuing efforts to limit it to 1.5 degrees Celsius. In the beginning, most countries in the agreement could maintain the goal. However, as the time went on, many countries have not been able to maintain the goal, and as a collective, the global community has failed to keep the widespread issue of climate change under control. Many underdeveloped countries failed to achieve the goal due to insufficient money or supplies to improve their energy source. In addition, undeveloped countries are usually where the use of energy, such as fossil fuels, contribute to climate change. In those areas, there's not that much that can be changed, and thus it affects the entire world, leading to many countries to fail to achieve the goal that was agreed on. All in all, we as the people of Earth need to stand together to fight against this everlasting battle that is said to be against the climate, when in reality, it's ourselves. There are 3 main impediments that, if we can conquer, we will have the upper hand in this climate war.
Hi, I am Daniel Romano. Today I will be talking about the educational impediment of climate change. This impediment entails the spread of misinformation and the creation of confusion in order to blind the public and make it seem as if there is no issue to be solved. There are about 7.7 billion people on our Earth, and educating each and every one of them about the issues of climate change may seem to be an insurmountable task. But by starting smaller and working our way up, we can achieve this task of teaching as many people as possible the true danger and state of peril our planet is currently in. If each and every US citizen understood the impact they are having on the world's climate, the Earth would be much better off in reducing our carbon footprint and ultimately stopping climate change. However, the educational impediments of climate change impede on this process. It is difficult for Americans to work towards this goal when they do not know that this problem even exists. The news media, social media platforms, and the US government officials who spread denial of climate change and feed the public misinformation halt to this goal of spreading awareness. Okay, to start with President Donald Trump. Over the past several decades, many individuals have spread misinformation regarding climate change and global warming, including corporate executives, government officials, and even presidents. To start with the most prevalent, President Donald Trump continuously took steps to derail climate change reform through his misguided policy decisions, including removing the US from the Paris Climate Agreement, passing various anti-climate change legislation, and ultimate governmental ignorance towards the apparent signs of climate change. Arguably, the most drastic and lasting effect of his anti-environmental regime was the widespread dispersal of misinformation and fake news fed to the public regarding the state of our climate. On multiple occasions, Trump has disregarded the importance of the changing climate. For example, on CBS's 60 Minutes, when asked about the climate, Trump is quoted in saying, "I do not know that it is man-made, and that the warming trend could very well come back." Americans who listen to this rhetoric may be less desired to take action as their own president does not even believe in climate change. To make matters worse, Trump regularly tweeted misinformation without fact-checking or proving evidence. In one such instance, he tweeted that the concept of global warming was created by and for the Chinese to make US manufacturing non-competitive, which, according to the New York Times, was retweeted more than 140,000 times and liked nearly 66,000 times. Then, when the Northeast faced a cold front in November of 2018, Trump tweeted, "Whatever happened to global warming?" Again, calling into question the truth regarding the changing climate, spurring doubt, and derationalizing those who fight for climate change. Again, on July 8, 2019, while trying to boost his environmental record, he stated that America surpasses many other countries in eliminating greenhouse emissions. In addition, he claimed that every single one of the signatories to the Paris Climate Accord lagged behind America in overall emissions reductions, according to Time magazine. Various reports prove that emissions in America were in fact rising. The millions of Americans who have listened to his statements are misguided into believing that the US is eliminating greenhouse emissions and that they do not have to work for a cleaner environment collectively. With a misinformed public, achieving the goal of lowering greenhouse emissions is much more difficult. In working towards a more environmentally friendly Earth, every person has to play their part. However, when one of the leaders of the world's most powerful nations claims that no work needs to be done and that climate change issue is under control, it negatively affects the world. In reality, there is still so much to be done. However, Trump is not the sole proprietor of misinformation in government. Other high-ranking governmental officials are spreading misinformation or downplaying the importance of fossil fuels relating to climate change. Steve Koonin, the Undersecretary of Science in the Obama administration, has authorized publications questioning the validity of climate change, thus creating misinformation and spreading controversy about whether it is accurate. He used his connection to Obama to boost his legacy and name, trying to paint himself as a reliable source of information. However, Koonin's book, Unsettled, which was published on April 27, 2021, argues against the evident effects of climate change and stirs up uncertainty as to whether the effects are even real. In reality, scientific findings regarding the effects of climate change have been stronger than ever and have been growing stronger for the next few decades. The issue of governmental officials sowing the seeds of doubt concerning climate change is not limited to a handful of rogue executive branch members. The Center for American Progress cites that 139 officials in the 117th Congress, which were elected on November 3, 2020, including 109 representatives and 30 senators, refused to acknowledge the scientific evidence of human-caused climate change. These climate change deniers use their status as elected officials to make public statements impeding on the progress of halting climate change and denying the scientific fact that the globe is warming because of human activity through the spread of misinformation. The fact that this drastic number of the American Congress does not support climate change is disheartening. It is also not surprising to hear that these same climate-denying members have received $61 million in lifetime contributions from the coal, oil, and gas industries. In making money through the sale of this usage of fossil fuels, these companies will invest in misinforming Americans about the effects of their products on the environment. Most misinformation about climate change is spread through social media, news media, and members of the American government. In order to effectively combat climate change, the American public must be able to see through these lies and instead grasp the actual issues the climate is facing in order to realize that change is necessary. However, that is only a singular battle in this war to combat an ever-warming climate.
Hi, my name is Tomas Rivera, and I was responsible for the economic impediment in this cohort's research. If I can share my screen. Yeah, it looks like that's not happening. I apologize for that. Yeah, I'll just freeball off the top of my head. Yeah, so when it comes to addressing the economic impediments that come with climate change, the first way is obviously supply and demand, which is kind of what the free market, capitalist structure in the U.S., which is a free market, is based on. One way to go about that is carbon pricing, which is when you tax you put a certain tax on carbon pollution. So for one example, it would be like you tax $75 for each kilogram of carbon released in the atmosphere. And that would go to the responsibility of the companies that sell fossil fuels. They would have to pay that tax. And in turn, that would make the price of fossil fuels so expensive that consumers would be less incentivized to buy them. So basically lowering the demand for those fossil fuels. We can also accomplish a similar thing by taking the money raised by those taxes and putting them into subsidies for renewable vehicles, in which citizens can get tax rebates and other incentives for buying renewable resources, which is the ultimate goal, in switching from a fossil fuel-based economy to one based on renewable energy and solar energy. So that kind of transitions great to the next idea I researched, which was the green economy, which is basically translates to an economy that lets human beings stay on Earth longer than they're on track to now. As it is, we produce so much emissions that the world will most likely not be habitable in the next 100 years. And to change that, we need to change the structure of our very economy. And there are a few great global and national organizations who have done research for that. One is the United Nations Environmental Program, which released their Green Economy Initiative. That initiative essentially calls for the transition from the global economy to switch into one that focuses on a sustainable development in which people are buying solar panels and driving electric vehicles and whatnot, and in which jobs are based off of those renewable sectors, so wind farming and other solar activities. The Green New Deal, which many of you may have heard about, initially proposed by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, proposed that on a national level in the United States. Then we also have the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. They propose their green growth strategy, which couples the transition from a fossil fuel-based economy to a renewable one with economic growth. Because ultimately it would be hard to find buy-in between Republicans and Democrats in the U.S. without guaranteeing that the economy not be stagnated in the transition period, which there's bound to be a transition period between fossil fuels and green technologies. So the way you do that is by boosting, putting government incentivized money into research and into the companies that are selling this green technology, and that will basically help prevent stagnation of the economy. And one great way to accomplish that is feed-in tariffs. So feed-in tariffs essentially operate on the idea that you tax non-renewable energy, right? That's the start. And then the other option, and the other end of that, is that you pay people for selling their renewable energy. So let's say, many people who have gone through the process of buying solar panels, our family included, basically you get greeted with the idea that you can sell this extra energy you create from your household back to the city. That's essentially feed-in tariff. So that incentivizes individual households to invest in solar energy because they're actually making more money back from the government than they would just how it works. Sorry, let me rephrase this. The government pays more money for these incentivized green energies than you would pay per kilowatt hour to buy it from an energy company. So you actually are making a great economic decision by using a feed-in tariff. So that's one way the government can help incentivize and reduce stagnation when transitioning to a green economy. And then another thing I came across was polycentric governance, which is basically the idea of breaking down structures into more communal governed ones. So how that works is, you'd have small communities that are in charge of making the various laws and policies regarding climate change. And the reason that works, and this is research done actually by Elinor Ostrom, who won the Nobel Prize in economics in 2009 and remains the only woman to ever win the prize. She's a truly inspiring person. And she basically found that small communities that are allowed to make their own laws have increased efficiency over laws that are put in place by government. large top-down governments like present in the U.S. So they did experiments in Nepal and other countries in which they gave farmers watering structures from the engineers that were government paid and then government instituted. So these farmers had the option of using government instituted technology versus creating their own fairly simple watering technology. And what was really surprising is in Nepal, the farmers who were allowed to make their own technology actually had way better crop yields and invested way less money into that technology. And that kind of translates in many other circumstances. And it would translate certainly to climate change by breaking down the responsibility for moderating our consumption and making sure we transition to green technology. We, by breaking that down into a more communal sense, we can be more efficient and we're better at adapting the complexity of human nature to the complexity of our environment. And the final thing I came across was the need for research. And actually one of the people who came and talked with us, one of the professionals in the field, Stephen Cohen, he calls for a need for research, and I ended up citing him in my research paper. And the idea is the need for research is that right now we don't have technologies that are strong enough to support this transition to a green economy. We need considerable investment on part of the government and on part of various private companies to fund this research and make it go forward in a way that we can lower the cost and increase efficiency in things like solar panels and whatnot. And by increasing that efficiency, we can get to the level in which we can finally institute a wide scale overhaul of the economy and transition completely to a sustainable one. And so in conclusion, none one of these ideas is better than the other. They all kind of have to be put together. And that's the beauty of the economics of climate change. Because the economy is so widespread and so important in the United States, we can find sectors all across the United States that respond well to these different ideas. And by creating a vast and expansive policy framework, we can address the economic side of climate change. And that's my piece. Thank you. And I hand it off to Jesse, I believe.
Hello, I am Jessie, and I researched about the policy impediment. So we are no strangers to modern-day crises similar to climate change. Living through the COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen the government's take on these public cataclysms, and often the government has failed us with a solution. Despite their position on the global level, the American government has failed to show any success in solving these issues so far. The government continuously delayed their efforts to combat climate change. During the pandemic, the new policies created were ineffective. Due to President Trump's denial of the issues, the government failed to take any significant action, and in fact, President Trump revoked America out of the Paris Agreement.
But despite the government's lack of action, we can all make a change. Spreading awareness and shedding light to the imposing issues that climate change poses is a way for us to start. Installing renewable energy, turning off lights, cutting consumption waste, and reducing the energy one uses each day will benefit our journey. By gaining the government's attention, we can all unite and bring an end to the destruction our home is facing. The issues are prominent, and climate change is becoming more relevant now than ever. Without the proper education and information about the situation, we cannot get anywhere. During President Trump's presidency, he failed to acknowledge climate change, and this led to fake news, causing for the common people to ignore this as a prominent issue. Despite resources and information that other politicians were attempting to spread, it all came to fail after President Trump clearly denying the issue. From an economic standpoint, the rift between our society into two absolute groups has played a role in the policies and efforts that have been placed. Policies that have been implemented for the betterment of the environment have often been revoked by their polar opposite party.
And this leads to us getting further away from the solution. As we have seen, perhaps the most effective way to introduce a more sustainable society is by introducing polycentric government systems. There is no one solution. We have to bring all the different economies together. Now, we go into comparing two common crises that we are currently seeing, the COVID-19 pandemic and global warming. It is evident that the government is not taking full-fledged actions to put this to an issue. Despite the resources that we have as a powerful nation, we lack the mentality and awareness to bring a true change. There is no one solution that can solve this global issue. It digs deeper into every neighborhood and to every person to change their ways and become more eco-friendly. But it all starts with us. Together, we can save the world.
Hello everyone, my name is Kamaini and I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce about my research article. Being a resident of a developing country, I have often heard people blame us as the main contributors to global warming and climate change. Well, the concept of common but differentiated responsibilities clearly disregards this claim and highlights that states have common but differentiated responsibilities towards sustainable developments in view of the different contributions to the global environment degradation. CFBR certainly differentiates the responsibilities between nations, but what about the inequalities intrinsic to society, be it economic, racial, social, among many others? Do all citizens of a nation exercise the same power and have access to similar resources? Well, this question led me to research upon how does implementing policies to mitigate climate change adversely affect the human rights of vulnerable groups. It has been said that people least responsible for global warming will suffer the most from its consequences. Hailing from a village and being raised in a metropolitan city, I have clearly observed how economic inequality directly impacts the vulnerability of people to environmental threats as well as their quality of lifestyle. Well, it may seem really convenient at the beginning to blame the communities which uses coal or wood as their primary sources of power as the main contributors to global warming and climate change, often forgetting that it's neither exciting nor comfortable for them to inhale the toxic fumes rich in carbon dioxide and making themselves more vulnerable to respiratory disorders, and completely forgetting the little yet promising carbon emissions produced by the air-conditioned luxurious suites, which indeed is a necessity for human survival. In my article, I've tried to put some insights about these issues and ways we could possibly use to tackle them. I hope you have a fun time reading it.
Thank you, Kamini. My name is Reagan McGowan, and I'm going to further her point on the relations of human impact and climate change. So a lot of people on Earth operate on the hierarchy of needs. And if they're struggling to just provide shelter for their family, they're going to be less worried about their carbon footprint and more about how to simply survive and provide for themselves and their family. A large percentage of Earth's population can't take personal steps to address climate change due to the cost of some environmentally responsible options, and they may feel like anything they do will be insignificant. This mindset is a large reason why climate change is being solved at such a slow pace. For example, as compared to the coronavirus pandemic, there aren't strict and stern rules for solving climate change. During COVID, I think I can speak for all of us here. Everyone, no matter how much money you made, knew to wear a mask, stay 6 or more feet away from others, and to avoid large groups. If you didn't follow these rules, you may have been judged or ostracized for that decision. There are so many contributors to climate change, and because of this, many people may feel that the slightest effort on their part won't make a difference. Therefore, by educating everyone that even the smallest of environmentally responsible options do in fact make a difference, we can hopefully see a more positive outlook on the health of the future of the Earth. It is also important to remember that although the Earth is being physically affected due to climate change, so are humans, especially the lower class individuals who don't have the money to take these environmentally sustainable actions. Climate change is causing rising sea levels, more severe storms, increased droughts, which leads to decline of crops and loss of food, and poverty. As we see these negative effects of climate change, specifically increased storm weather, those who are struggling to get by day are being displaced from their homes and don't have the money to relocate or fix what has been damaged or even destroyed.
Examples of this could be Hurricane Katrina back in 2005, where the poor were mostly infected. Yes, those with money were definitely harmed. However, they have the money to go to the hospital, buy a new house, and move on. Everyone lives on the same earth, and climate change is affecting all parts of the world. However, there is no doubt that the ones suffering the most are the financially unstable. So, what's the solution? Well, the first step we can take is to educate all people of the world that even the smallest of the efforts towards the care of decreasing climate change will make a difference, and a good one. By encouraging this mindset, maybe we will see more people recycling, buying from sustainable shops, food markets, and local businesses. Everyone is aware that climate change exists, and it is up to them whether or not they would like to believe the facts regarding that. However, I believe that in every person across the globe, we do want to do the right thing. Some may not have the money to go out of their way and purchase an electrical vehicle, but with enough information spread, hopefully people will come to realize that even the smallest of efforts can make a big difference for the benefit of our beautiful planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reagan. Next, we'd like to thank all the guest speakers who contributed tremendously to our cohort's success in writing and publishing a research paper.
I would like to thank Dr. Kevin Dooley from Arizona State University and the Sustainability Consortium for teaching us about economic impediments and supply networks, as well as Scope 3 carbon emissions. His input was greatly beneficial and revolutionary to our project, especially in the economic impediments.
We would like to express our gratitude towards Connie Whitman, who helped us understand our communication styles, and personality types so that we could take up a specific role in the program.
Next, we would like to thank Riley Hott from unipac.org, and she's an activist advocate and an experience as a change agent. She specifically stood out to our cohort members as she was the youngest one we've met. She's known to be really funny, charismatic, and her unique experiences allowed us to learn from her different point of view.
We would like to express our gratitude towards Kelly Nagel, the co-founder of Teen Think Tank Project, and Dr. Bok Jeong from the Kean University, who provided us with valuable insights about the right approach to academic research and framing a suitable research question.
Next, we would like to thank Dr. Stephen Cohen from Columbia University, and he was an honored guest who was able to speak upon policy impediments. One of our cohort members' work was particularly defined by Dr. Cohen's views on government-funded research for technology to reverse climate change. Thank you for that.
Next on the list is Ginger Strand, a well-renowned American author and environmental writer, who taught us the nuances of combining education, research, and storytelling. She also discussed about the ways to make our research more accessible and engaging for the audience. Thank you so much.
I'd like to also reiterate our gratitude to all those individuals, some of which are here right now. Ginger Strand, Dr. Kevin Dooley, Riley Hott, amongst others who have joined us today. This program does not work without the participation of thought leaders and experts who come in and share their not only experience, but their voice and their time and their ear to these change agents. When you have a program that looks to elevate teen voices, you need to provide them with a platform. You need to provide them with a landing spot to develop those voices. And I am certainly not in a position to develop that landing spot. However, individuals like Ginger Strand, individuals like Dr. Stephen Cohen, Dr. Kevin Dooley, Riley Hott, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, Essence Carson, Dr. Donna Gallup, a laundry list of individuals who have answered cold calls, who have answered introductions from colleagues, without question, are the backbone of this project, the backbone of the research that we do. And we thank you. We give you a heartfelt round of applause. And we appreciate your time, effort, and commitment to the things that these exceptional teens are doing. Speaking of exceptional teens, when we built this program, we wanted to ensure that teen change agents understood that their passions, their concerns, their dedication to create change wasn't seen as a novel use of their time, was not seen as a extracurricular activity, wasn't seen as a side project en route to other lifetime endeavors. We wanted them to understand that not only the work that they would be doing is important, but the work they would be doing could be life's work. It could be work that they did and were compensated for on an academic level, on a professional level, on an experiential level. So one of the ways we looked to show them that path is create a scholarship. Every cohort that we have launched has had at its core, a $500 scholarship given to the cohort member that best exemplifies the virtues and mission and values of the Teen Think Tank Project. But as you can imagine, when you get together with 8 to 12 exceptionally passionate, high-achieving teens, it's very difficult for us as an organization to differentiate between them and decide which one of these individuals is going to receive a $500 scholarship. Our hope is that someday we can create an opportunity where each of our cohort members is eligible to receive a $500 scholarship to our program. But for the time being, it is a much more difficult task than I am up for. Therefore, we farm this out. We got a very generous and valuable sponsor in this program. Perennis Financial Planning has been with us from the start. They have provided the scholarship money for the winners of 3 of our cohorts, including this particular cohort. And in addition to funding that, they are given the task of selecting that individual and that winner of the $500 Teen Think Tank Project Scholarship. And with each passing cohort, their task becomes even more difficult. And with each decision that I receive from the folks at Perennis Financial Planning, who not only read the application materials and review the applicants, they also conduct a one-on-one interview to best understand who these individuals are. And every time they come back to me, their message is the same. And that message is, this is an impossible task. This is really hard to do. We can't differentiate between these individuals. And that's a good problem to have, because that means each of the cohort members that we are working with and who are graduating from our program and entering the world are in a position to impress and make an impression on those they come in contact with. And the finalists for this cohort scholarship are no different. Kamini Racharia, Tomas Rivera, and Jesse Dong are all exceptional members of our cohort. Each has a different skill set, that we value. And from my perspective and my opportunity to work with them, are not only tremendous academics, but tremendous individuals. Kamini is one of the most thorough and dedicated students and researchers that I have ever come in contact with. But more importantly, she is sincere and sweet and caring. And those two skill sets are not mutually exclusive. If we had more people who put the work in that matched their passion, or had the passion that matched their work ethic, our world would be a much, much better place. Tomas Rivera is an interesting dude. From the first conversation that I had with him, I could tell that he was going to be an individual that made his mark. But his personality and his well-rounded nature, in one short summer alone, I believe he's been on a nature excursion, a poetry retreat, and probably tackled some volleyball in there during this summer. He never ceases to amaze me with the commitments and the activities that he's always putting to the forefront, and his 100% effort into. And then finally, Jesse Dong. I have never met a more self-aware sophomore in my entire life. Jesse has not only the rare ability to be self-aware, but constantly pushes herself outside of her comfort zone. As an adult, I know my comfort zone and am not very comfortable leaving it. I can't imagine what it's like to be a teen, recognizing where my comfort zone is, but constantly striving to get outside of it to better herself and take the next challenges that are going to make her a better student, a better citizen, a better person. But with that said, there's only one award to give, and the folks at Perennis Financial Planning, as well as the staff at Teen Think Tank Project, would like to congratulate Tomas Rivera for this cohort's scholarship award recipients. Tomas.
The word that comes to mind is gratitude for everything, for this community of people passionate about climate change, super unique in their own ways, and just awesome to work with. For you, Matt, hosting us and being so great at directing us, and being so great at helping us flourish in the way that we can. I want to thank Perennis Financial, of course, for granting the scholarship, and I want to thank all of our guest speakers who really set the bar extremely high, and also let us know that we're not alone in the field, and that there are plenty of awesome adults and plenty of awesome people before us who've worked on this problem, and all we need to do is stand on their shoulders in order to address it in the future. So thank you.
Tomas, thank you very much. I don't normally like to steal the thunder of the cohort. Don't get me wrong. I am not above stealing thunder. However, I don't typically like to steal the thunder of our research cohort in this setting, because they have done all of the hard work. They have done all of the preparation. But this summer marks a very special time for the Teen Think Tank Project. That is because we have graduated our first class of seniors. The majority of these individuals came through our first research cohort, which we launched in January of 2021. And a number have come in subsequent cohorts, but they all share one thing in common. All of the individuals who graduated from their respective high schools in this past spring have all gone on to college. We have a 100% college acceptance rate within the Teen Think Tank Project. And while we certainly take none of that credit, 100% of that credit goes to those students. We are 100% proud of them. The schools that you see here are not only extremely impressive, they are the first choice or quote unquote dream schools of these particular students. Each of them set out on a journey to get to these schools a long time ago, and we are very honored that we got to play a role or at least watch them develop on that journey. And I expect great things from all of our cohort members, past, present, and in the future. However, this particular group that you are looking at is certainly something special. Individually, they each have a well-rounded skill set, a personality, and a drive for change that will set them apart from their colleagues and classmates. But most of all, they're just great. They're great people. And I've enjoyed watching them all develop, both academically and socially. And we look forward to your time when you graduate and we're able to throw up those logos of your dream schools on this platform and recognize you the way you should be recognized. So thank you very much. Keep up the great work. But let's take a few minutes to learn a little bit about these individuals, these research associates. And to help us do that, one of our favorite parts of this policy launch party is the Q&A session. To help us do that will be my co-founder, Kelly Nagel. Kelly, welcome.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Congratulations again to all our amazing research cohort associates for your work throughout the summer and also for a really impressive and informative presentation tonight. I hope you're all as proud of yourselves as Matt and I and our entire team are. So excited to throw out a few questions that we have had come in. And in no particular order, I'm going to throw out the first question to Vanya. Vanya, do you think, this is the $1 million question, do you think that there's hope that we can solve climate change or solve the climate crisis?
I think that there's hope to solve any crisis at all if we put our minds to it. And I think that the climate crisis is no exception to that. It all starts when we come together as one. And, us starting with our paper and bringing attention and awareness to this is just one step of getting there. We're informing the public, and hopefully now everyone here can take action. And, we can move forward as a collective whole and become more green, And hopefully at the end of the day, we can't stop climate change, but we sure can prevent it. And hopefully at the end, we do bring our temperatures down.
Great. Thank you, Vanya. I am going to throw out this question to whoever would like to jump in and answer it. But how did this experience differ from your traditional school-based project or class?
I can answer that.
Great. Thanks, Daniel.
So this experience was different from like a traditional school project because unlike with school, it was not like some assignment that I needed to complete for a grade. With this Teen Think Tank project, the issue of climate change is something that truly resonated within me, and it was something that I was passionate about, which is a little bit more rare than like a typical school project. This was also completely in our hands. Like with school, there's usually a guideline or some sort of outline to follow, but Matt was there to guide us and he was very helpful. But at the end of the day, it was up to us and my other cohort members to make these decisions, research, and write our paper.
Great. Thanks, Daniel. Anyone else care to respond to that question?
Yeah, I can piggyback off of Danny. Pretty much the same opinion. Matt was there with us all along, but this was the first time where I felt like I was put into a situation where we can actually make a difference. And we were given voices, even though we're all
still teenagers, it felt empowering, and he helped us make connections. And to also hear from experts, all respect to my teachers at school, but it was different hearing different perspectives from people who actually studied specifically climate change and its effects and who advocate for the matter. So it was really inspiring to get that one-on-one connection too.
Great. Thanks, Reagan. Tomas, I'm going to put you on the spot for this one. Did this project change your ideal professional path? And if so, how?
Yeah, I would say it definitely did. I had always kind of been environmental minded in my early life, but I kind of just really love academics. I love physics. I love reading books and stuff like that. And it just seemed like it would be really hard to bridge the gap between. And I talked about this in my intro video, but it seemed hard to bridge the gap between the textbook and the classroom and actually making change in the real world. But this project just kind of let me see that those there are very real connections between the two, and all it takes is for you to put yourself out there and for you to meet people and put your voice out there. And through that, I still want to pursue physics as a field, but I'm seriously considering becoming an environmental scientist, and with a graduate degree, and where I can go research on sustainable technologies and whatnot.
Great, thanks, Tomas. Another question for whomever would like to respond. What was your favorite part about the Teen Think Tank project?
Can I answer that? So my favorite part about Teen Think Tank was the independence that the project gave us. We were able to research any topic of our interest and reach out to any kind of source to help us write. But at the same time, the project was very outlined, and we always had people to look to for help and a bunch of resources that we could access. So I think it was the perfect amount of independent work as well as guided work.
Great. Thanks, Anushka. Anyone else would like to respond to that question? Okay. Here's another one. What other kinds of things did you do this summer? And how does this experience compare to those?
I can answer this one.
Great, thanks, Laura.
This summer, I went away to an environmental science camp, and it was really interesting to see, similar to what Tomas says, but the bridge between doing this on Zoom as more of an intellectual group, and then actually being out in the field and working there with actual environmental scientists who this is their everyday job, and just seeing how what we're doing here, it really does affect their jobs out there. And it was really inspiring.
Great, thank you. Here's another question. Were you passionate about climate change before this cohort? Jesse, maybe I can ask you to answer that one.
I was interested in climate change, but then I wasn't that knowledgeable, so I gained a lot more knowledge after this cohort.
Great, thank you. Let's see. We have one more question. Kamini, this one is special for you. Unlike the rest of the cohort, you are done with high school. So curious, what are your plans for the fall?
Thank you so much. I'm planning to attend university, obviously, in the fall. I am planning on majoring in physics, and that's what I have liked from childhood. I've been a STEM person, but I was far away from this economics, politics, social science, and this cohort really made me realize how important it is to integrate STEM with ethics and humanities so that, the developments in science can contribute to the development of society rather than maybe destroy it. So I definitely consider integrating my research or studies at the higher level with humanities so that my work can really contribute to the society.
Wow, really interesting. Thank you. Vanya, I have another question specific for you. Since this is your second cohort with us, can you compare the experiences?
Yeah, so the previous cohort that the previous cohort that I took part in was regarding health inequality. So we combated people of different races, of different colors, sometimes even gender and sexuality, how it was different for them. And both of the cohorts, I feel they had two different topics, and I learned so much from both of them. The knowledge that I was able to gain, that's that I'm sure I will appreciate in the future. And, just in general, when I'm advocating for something that I'm passionate about. Both of the cohorts, I would say that the guest speakers and the research that we were able to complete, and then especially the books, they were both extremely informative. And the reason I mainly joined the cohort again was just because of the experience and being able to collaborate with other members. That's something, that we don't typically see out in the field. And especially people that are passionate about issues that we also care about. So climate change has been something since I was younger that I'm passionate about. So when I heard about this, I talked to Matt and I got into the cohort, and I feel like it was very similar for the health inequality because it started off with me I want to go into the medical field. So learning about that issue and then, wanting to combat it the same way that I did here.
Great, thank you. We have time for one last question that has come in. This is open for anyone to jump in. What is one thing that our audience should take away from tonight's presentation or your research?
I think everyone should just try to have an open mind about climate change because it's a very debated issue, and just there's always a little something that you can do to help, even though it may not seem like much in the long term, it will matter.
I agree. That I think our audience should take away the fact that nothing is impossible. As we saw from our presentation, sometimes it is written off that changing climate change is impossible, but really that's not the case. With different kinds of policy changes and everyone pitching in and making changes in their own households could definitely even reverse climate change.
Great, thanks, Anisha. Any last thoughts about one thing our audience should take away from this evening?
Kind of just going off what everyone else said and off our presentation. I feel like the biggest thing is we should all kind of collaborate with one another because nothing starts with just us, and it doesn't start with just the government. We also have to put in our own efforts. And another thing that we should take away from this presentation is kind of how to do that, and just that starting point, So wherever that starts for you.
Great, thanks, Vanya. Last thoughts? Going once? Going twice? All right, we are done with Q&A. Oh, Kamini, you jumping in?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I agree with everybody else. And what I personally feel is that we shouldn't give the responsibility of mitigating climate change to certain people like environmentalists, activists, or maybe the government, partly because we are not studying climate change or we are not we are into the STEM field or whatever. But we all live on Earth and we have got a responsibility that we should take care of. And maybe when we are participating in conversations and we are seeing that there's some misinformation between people happening, we should just confront that confidently so that it could help more people know about climate change.
Good last thought to Tomas.
Yeah, I also want to go off what Kamayani was saying. I think one of the biggest things when talking to people about climate change is trust. If you don't agree with someone, the best way to, I think, to solve that is to, trust them, get to know them, connect to them on a personal level. And the more you spread yourself out on a person-to-person basis, the more potent your ideas are. So when you're talking about this stuff in public, focus on building trust.
Great thought. Thank you. Okay, I think we have come to the end of the Q&A round.
Kelly, thank you very much. Team, I have one last question. Every cohort during the Q&A period or during the thank you segment says the same thing and says, thanks, Matt, for being supportive, and thanks, Matt, for the guidance. But nobody says, thanks, Matt, for being funny. What's up with that? Am I not funny? Am I just, you know what? Let's not tell me. I don't think I can handle. I don't think I can handle it.
I think it's that we all know that you're funny, so it's like stating the obvious, so no one just says it.
Anushka, very good. I assume that you were going to be taking up the political policy impediments at some point in your future. Thank you very much. Before we wrap up, I just want to do a little bookkeeping for the folks at home to show you how you can support these young individuals on their journey. The first and most effective way is to patronize their work, read their work, invest in the research they are doing. You can do that by heading to our website, where each of these cohorts has a cohort page, which I will link in the chat. You can head over there by heading over to resources, going to the research cohort page. You'll find a portfolio of research by our previous groups. Here is the summer research cohort. You will find everything you need to know about these teen change agents here, their mission. At the conclusion of this presentation, we will upload a copy of that presentation to this page. Their framework is made available. There is a link to read their entire policy framework, which is a 30-page research paper, which I assure you is there. I promise, technical difficulties aside. You can connect with them via LinkedIn and social media. You can hire them. You can accept them to your colleges and universities. You can give them scholarships. You are one click away from connecting with the future of our country. And I don't say that with any sense of irony or hyperbole. That is the truth. That is a fact. In addition, you can check out their framework on Medium. You can go to teen-thinktank.medium.com. This is very important because this is how our research cohort members monetize their work. Medium has a monetization platform. And one of the goals of the Teen Think Tank Project, as I mentioned, was to not only encourage, but to show these change agents how their passions can be turned into careers. And every cohort that publishes work has a revenue share agreement, much like all of the major academic researchers and research institutions across the globe. They will make money off of the research that they are able to monetize. One easy step, one very simple way for you to help support that is to go to Medium. Over the next few days, their research framework will be uploaded. Once it is, I encourage you all to share that with your personal and professional networks and show these teen change agents that you are there, you are with them, and you are supporting them. And other than that, please go out and support your local schools, your local high school students, and the local change agents in your community that are looking for an opportunity to have their voice heard. Whether that means simply listening to them, engaging with them in conversation, reaching out to them to provide them with the professional networks that you may or may not have had as a teenager. There's the great fallacy of the bootstrap in American culture. But it's just that, it's a fallacy. No one gets to the next level on their own. And everyone in our audience, everyone in my professional network, everyone in Kelly's professional network has the ability to help lift up these students. And I encourage you to do so. If you need to know how to do that, please get in touch with me. MDeSantis at teenthinktankproject.com, knagel@teenthinktankproject.com, or info@teenthinktankproject.com. But of course, it's the 21st century. Follow us on social media and connect with us there. Team, I'm going to hand it back over to you. Once again, thank you for a job well done. Thank you for your hard work this entire summer. And thank you for being the kind of teens that care about the world that you will inherit. With that, I will turn it back over to the team for thank yous and goodbyes.
Thank you, everyone, so much for coming. We really appreciated it. And, yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for attending and listening.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed listening to our presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Let's give these folks a huge round of applause. They worked hard their entire summer fixing the problems that we have created for them. Have a great night, and thank you for coming.